Let me go ahead and pull this out. Here, let me hand you that. Oh, let's trade. And then hammer time.
Whoa, what are you going to use that for?
To make room. Welcome to LS Fest. We are not in a shop today. We are here in Bowling Green, Kentucky at Holley Performance LS Fest with Johnny Rev, our 1971 International Harvester pickup truck that we put a Corvette front suspension and LS powered drivetrain in it and have done a lot of exciting things with it, like driving it into Derek from Vice Grip Garage's pond. That wasn't exciting, that was just stupid. But the reason we have Johnny here today in the eBay Motors booth is we are doing live parts installs through the weekend. Currently, the car has a stock Ls1 intake manifold, factory computer, and factory wiring that I modified to make it work. And during the event, while everyone is walking around, we're gonna install an MSD atomic intake manifold. We're going to install MSD ignition coils and a Holley Terminator standalone computer to control everything and give us maximum control. Plus it has learning, so as we're driving, if anything's a little bit off, it will be able to correct it and take care of it for it. So let's get you a little bit closer. We'll show you the truck up close, introduce you to some of the parts, and then as the crowd builds, we're gonna get started wrenching. All right, so if you're not familiar with this truck, as you can tell, the engine is not in the factory location. It is way back and down. It does present some challenges when we're trying to install parts, but we were going to make it all work because I want horsepower. Notice there's a hand there. This is our friend Robert Dunn from Aging Wheels.
Hello.
I thought when I'm under a really tight time crunch installing a bunch of aftermarket parts and performance computers, the guy who pretty much restores stock cars and has EVs is the perfect guy to call.
Oh yes, my most recent project involved insulation, so I'm perfectly qualified.
We have to insulate wires.
That's not the same thing, but yeah, sure.
It's insulation. In the engine bay, the main things that you're gonna see change is this intake manifold's gonna go away. We're gonna have to probably, again, hammer right about there. We're changing valve covers and ignition coils. Just the ignition coils will give us a little bit of horsepower, and the valve covers just to make it look nice, you know? As you can tell, clean and looking nice is exactly what we go for here. One of the other big things we're gonna end up changing is already mounted in the back. We are going to an external fuel cell. This is a 20-gallon cell. And one of the big reasons is, as much fun as that factory little low tank is, when I drive it hard, all the gas comes pouring out from there. And then when you run out of gas, because all that gas has been pouring out, it's now stuck there and you can't put any in. It is not fun to deal with. So that is all going to go away. I'm gonna keep the filler there just because it looks cool, but if I try to put gas in, it's just going straight on the ground. But here's our stockpile of parts. Thank you, sir. So this Atomic Air Force manifold is incredibly impressive in that a stock engine, independently verified by multiple sources, because I was really curious at the claim, you make 30 horsepower just by bolting that on and doing that with your hands. These things are incredible for what they're able to produce for power. And then once you have a built and modified engine, they generate a whole lot more power and do a lot more exciting things. So that's kind of cool.
How much power do you expect to get from bolting this onto your engine?
I have a cam, so I might be in like the mid 30s,
okay,
which for a fairly simple bolt on.
Just for some airflow improvements, basically.
Yeah, so, and people have noticed that you do need to tune for it because it is moving more air, and that's where our Terminator X Max will come in handy. These are fantastic computers. They have all of the learning capabilities, and you need the Max X when you have the automatic transmission. I have the 4L80 and drive-by-wire, so that's going to handle all of that for me.
Do these go back in time to kill Sarah Connor?
No. Okay. These are our friends.
Oh, okay.
For now.
Good.
And then just sitting here is our coil blaster kit, and these are our valve covers where Leighton with GRC fabrication.
Am I allowed to open these?
Yeah, go ahead and open one.
Okay.
Should we awkwardly just film you?
Yeah, just pretend I'm a Subway worker unwrapping the
little cardboard tub of meat.
The meat substitutes. I'll get there eventually, hang on. This is the worst unboxing ever.
Wait. Rub your finger on the plastic.
Oh, I can't even do ASMR.
Okay,
that's enough. All right.
Whoa.
I was expecting branding on the top.
No, well, because you put coils right on top. So that actually is a really good finish. I sent him a picture of the manifold, and he did a pretty good job getting that texture close. Thank you, Light. That's actually the first time I've seen them. So we've got some parts. We're going to wait a little bit because, you know, kind of part of the show and, you know, being the circus act. You got to wait for some people.
We're monkeys in the zoo, not the circus act.
Yeah.
Big difference.
You want a second go?
You don't have to record it.
Should I put it in slow motion?
Oh, yes. Do the sexy unwrapping. I can't even
Here, try your ASMR again.
Okay. Oh, you join me on the belly side of an international scout in the middle of an event. Jared has asked me to unplug everything from the transmission from both sides and then undo this little nut and wire off the back of the starter solenoid here. And I didn't question why, but I got to thinking about it. Why are we doing that if we're just going to be replacing the intake? Because we're also going to be doing a Terminator ECU swap, and that involves taking out the entire wiring loom. So that is why he has asked me to do that. I figured if I was out of the loop, then you were probably out of the loop too. Jared is currently unwrapping his nice and neatly done wiring loom. This is killing him on the inside, but he's not showing it. Are you?
Currently, as Jared his harness.
I'm sure you didn't hear a word he just said. I'm sure it was, I'm doing this right, I know what I'm doing.
Hear what I actually said?
No, what did you actually say?
Jared is harness is currently Jareding his thing. Stumbling over there. And when we look in there, it's almost completely apart. Intakes are gone, valve covers are gone. The harness is completely pulled. Robert did the fuel tank. Thank you for taking the gas in the armpit. I hate it.
Did you just give me all the tasks that you don't want to do?
Maybe.
Okay.
So
whatever.
we're also now, I'm having to remember how I wired this. We have that real nice bulkhead connector that is going to send our key switch, constant power, and some of those signals in and out. And they come into the fuse box. So I just need to unwrap all of this. And then I need to find all of these, which were our power outputs and power controls, and get all of this kind of ready for the Holley Terminator harness. It's got a few simpler connections. Once that is there,
So where we are right now is Jared is currently recording what he's been doing in the engine bay.
And currently Robert is recapping what I'm actively
Currently
doing.
Jared is recapping what I'm recapping of him doing.
And then we will start fitting the intake manifold and having to hammer that firewall. Oh, hello, sir.
Hello.
My car's broken. Can you fix it?
It ain't broken. It just ain't fixed yet.
We're improving.
What? Yeah, what are you doing?
We're doing a Terminator install. So I took my perfectly working truck and we're making it better.
Well, as long as you're making it better, it should be fine.
I might need a hammer.
Oh, dude, we've got a bunch of hammers in the trailer.
Well, I got hammers too. You might need to swing it, but you'll have to climb in there to do it.
What do you need?
We'll find out. I've got to see if the intake will clear that firewall. We might have to.
Oh, bro, it's gonna clear. It'll clear.
Where's the Danger Ranger?
Oh, I gotta go grab it. We were tuning it. I'll tell you what, the
The old boost department, it really likes boost. The eBay Turbo is getting after it. It loves it.
How's the light switch doing?
The light switch is going good too. It runs really good now. We had to take and fix a bunch of the tuning and stuff with it because it just wasn't right. But yeah, we got it all together. Are you Roberto? Who's Roberto?
I'm Paul.
Okay.
Roberto's not here, but I'm Paul.
Oh, Paul.
He's coming back. I'm Chad.
So
Nice to meet you.
we will. It's going to be the who's who here in a minute, and we got to get most of the work done today because tomorrow is going to be even more hectic.
I mean, today's been pretty relaxed. I've just been able to do work. I mean, no one here recognizes me, so I get to do everything.
That's not true. You did have one guy recognized you before.
No. He didn't recognize me. I was telling him the cars that I have, and then
he recognized
noticed.
me.
Yeah.
That's the same thing.
No. Couldn't help but notice Jared's got a little dent problem here, so I thought I'd help him out while he's busy over there talking on the phone. There.
All right, so we've got that intake sit down, and it is going to require a little bit of adjustment. I kind of just real rough drew the angles that we're going to try to impression and get that in so we can get this bolted down. Now, it's kind of hard to really grasp, but I'm loving how that intake actually looks in the engine bay. When you have it on the table, you're kind of like, that looks weird. But the moment you put it like where it belongs, it starts looking really good, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So let me go ahead and pull this out. Here, let me hand you that. Oh, let's trade. And then hammer time
Whoa, what are you going to use that for?
to make room.
Oh my goodness. Or does it need way more clearance?
I don't think a lot. I think I'm just gonna have to take it out. Yeah. All right. Why is there a hole in the firewall?
Well, you see, it's because I put a hole in the firewall.
You know, that's probably the only way we actually were going to fit that thing in.
Yeah, we did try to hammer it, but it would have taken like 3 inches of a dent to put in there. We would have had to maybe acetylene torch it first and then hammer it.
Yeah, get it rosy. So, yeah, actually, plasma torch came out.
Plasma torch came out. No, plasma fingers.
So I'll have to fix that later with, if they don't let me on the track, I'll duct tape it for now, and then we'll fix it later with...
What is the likelihood of you actually going back and fixing that later?
Fairly high. I enjoy driving this truck, and...
Fairly high. Okay, how long is it going to take? How much procrastination is going to be involved in this?
It's third in line, so...
'Cause
It's
I
not
actually-
procrastination, it's just getting other projects done first.
I've got a car at home. I broke the bolt mounts on for the motor, and that was a year ago. Are we on the same page as far as procrastination, or are you like not a terrible person?
Well, it's not procrastination, it's just in order of hierarchy and needing to get done.
You can call it what you want to call it.
Anyway, there's a hole in the firewall. The intake now fits, so we'll be able to go through and get the gaskets and everything set up for that intake and get it dropped down on there. We're gonna help clean up our mess. There may have been some fires involved.
No, ignore that. I would like to point out that Jared removed the knock sensors in the engine.
You don't need knock
fit.
sensors.
What do you need? Oh, really? I thought you were just BSing me. Do you really not need knock sensors?
You just tune conservatively. Don't have super aggressive timing, and you can kind of get away with it.
So this is a question for auto science, Jared. How do knock sensors work?
There's multiple styles, but generally they're piezoelectric, meaning the vibrations of the knock generates a current, and by math and science, you tell the computer the amount of voltage that it's reading is how severe the knock is. That is generally generated using a knock amp, which is actually super sensitive microphones
Yeah, I was
that
going
you
to say,
then
the
wear.
electric sensor is just a microphone.
Right,
It
pretty
is.
much. But then there are knock amps where you're wearing headphones listening to it to help you then identify and create the tables that
Okay, so it's just audio analysis.
Yes.
All of that, when you could just have an electric motor had just been canceled. So here's what happened here. Jared was handling this valve cover here, and he was looking at it and said, wow, this is going to be a pain to swap over. And I asked him what he was talking about, and they handed it to me. So now I'm doing it. What he needs me to do is swap out these stupid little rubber gaskets for the bolts onto this nice new powder-coated valve gasket. And he's right, this kind of sucks to do. It's not as bad as I thought, but he handed it to me because he didn't want to do it. And I'm okay with that. I don't step away from a challenge, except when I do, which is most of the time.
So some more Ls1 fitment problems. One is with this intake. This boss, we're gonna have to cut down a whole lot. The friends with Spider Garage were just running into the same problem, so they came over to share some wisdom. I'm also hitting the steam port, and we'll have to grind in the back a little bit. So we gotta find the grinder, but the main thing we had to do was find a new steam port kit. And good thing with a bunch of people with LS's, we're trading. We're gonna take the stock steam port and give him the upgrade and make it work. So who would have thought at an LS event you'd be able to find some LS parts to try to get it all back together. All right, we're wrapping up day one. We kind of worked through a lot of issues. It turns out when an engine is way in the hole, intake doesn't fit well. So as you saw, we cut that hole. Then we ran into steam port problems and need a flat disc. No flat discs, unfortunately. The full race support trailer isn't in there. They're drifting now and making all kinds of noise. But one of the problems with the steam port you saw earlier is Spider Garage and one of their friends had what we needed, and we swapped our fancy one out with them. And I bent it to go. Excuse me. I'm trying to make YouTube here. But I tried to bend it to fit, and what did I do?
You broke it.
I broke it. So we still need that. We've got the right ignition coils coming. Wiring is stripped. Jeez. Wiring is stripped and ready to go on that front. So all we have left to do is go to the hotel, shower, and get some Mexican for dinner.
Yeah.
Also,
come back tomorrow.
Also Home Depot and get a grinder.
All we have left to do is do everything else for the rest of the day.
Just everything.
Yeah, just everything.
And thank you everyone who did stop by. A lot of people are apologizing for slowing us down. That's why I have Robert. He only gets recognized 2 times as often as I do, and he's able to get a little bit.
You beat 2 times total.
he's able to do a lot of work while I'm stopping and talking and kind of doing the Holly repping and the eBay Motors repping, because they are why we are here having fun and doing a lot of cool upgrades. Because again, the goal is to show you, don't be afraid of the wiring side of things. A lot of the other little things we're running into problems with, the wiring hasn't been any of it. And I've had some people ask about the Terminator. Now, when I did the initial swap, we went with a factory computer tuned, and it's a tremendous amount of wiring to make it work. But at the end of the day, if you buy a Terminator, it's not that much more expensive, and you have 6 wires to hook up. So if you were doing it, what would you do? Would you do spaghetti right there? Or the computer that will tune itself and works with 6 wires?
That one.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're gonna lock it. Well, this is locked up. Please no one steal my stuff. And we'll be back at it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
All right, so we've gotten started into Saturday already. Just trying to figure out what parts we may need and what he might be breaking and having to come up with solutions for. But we're seeing light at the end of the tunnel. And by tunnel, I mean my firewall. We've we've had to clear it a little bit, but the good news is the intake now can bolt on. We've got that cleared. We're doing a temporary front delete on our steam ports because we could not get that right hose. But we're at the point where it's wiping down, cleaning up, make the fuel lines, bolt the intake down, plug in the wiring.
You know, when you explain it like that, it sounds like we have a lot left to do, but we're a lot farther than we were.
Look, it's new parts in the engine bay. That actually doesn't look scary. There's labels on all of them.
Don't tell me that doesn't look scary. Well, there are labels on all of them, but still.
Dude, you saw what it looked like yesterday.
Yes, you've now taken it from a large plate of spaghetti to a small one.
Yeah, I was hungry. So, we're working through figuring it out. Some of the people here at LSFest are enjoying it. Some people are very confused, thought I blew the truck up, and they don't understand why I would take a perfectly working vehicle and tear it apart at the car show where I'm supposed to drive it.
And it seems like most people think we're actively LS swapping, which is no.
We've convinced two people
We have, yeah.
that we were like doing the swap.
Accidentally.
I didn't understand what they were asking, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, the guy said, "Oh, are you LS swapping?" And Jared misheard and said yes. And then they carried on a whole conversation for 10 minutes, having completely different ideas of what the other was doing.
That just makes it sound more heroic.
It does make it sound more heroic. It's a lie.
It's not a lie, it's a misunderstanding. All right, so Robert is underneath doing our last fuel pump connections. How's that going?
Done.
Done.
Yeah, it's done.
No, not your name. The wiring.
It is finished.
Okay, perfect.
Finito.
We have got our connections done. Here, our last minute parts that almost weren't going to be found. The amazing Scott found it. Thank you, Scott. And then I started talking about a list, and Josh just appeared.
Yeah, I'm the only one who gets things crossed off the list. Of course I would appear.
So I mentioned, I didn't even start making the list, and he showed up. So
The ghost of Black Hat.
inside the engine bay, we have our fuel lines made. I normally like black braided, because especially with just everything else, the stainless clashes. But that's what we had, and we are trying to get this done and proved in a day and a half.
You got a big old hole in your firewall, and you're worried about the clashing of the
Listen.
fuel lines?
You got to make it look good. Well, I guess it matches my brake dick or transmission
Your
dipstick
brake
too.
what? Your
My
brake-
dipstick too.
your-
So we are close. That is fully bolted down. We've got, I've got a couple hoses to connect, and then it's wiring time. We got to put the terminator somewhere and start connecting wires.
As Jared puts the final touches on the wiring, we've developed quite a following at this show here, and everyone keeps coming by to ask us if we're done yet. And just in case they want to know if we're done, but they don't want to speak to us, I've made up this helpful sign here. Hey Jared, are you done yet?
Yeah, I took it apart 3 times.
Still true.
There's hope. There's like legitimate, real hope.
Well, let's not forget we have tomorrow.
That's for racing.
Oh, tomorrow's for racing? Oh, okay. Then yes, there's hope.
So, as you can tell, the event is actually coming to the end, and we didn't make a drag racing pass or one of the autocross attack passes, and it's my fault. When we were going over the parts list and everything, and I got my first round of parts, Holly sent me a drive-by cable throttle body. It's one that you have a mechanical linkage to, and it's what most racers use, and it's basically the old technology. I'm stubborn and really wanted drive-by wire, and that's what we fought the entire event, needing the right plugs and harnesses, and I had the different systems, and we went through a ton of hoops and spent a lot of Robert's money buying throttle bodies that ultimately don't work, because with this Atomic Air Force intake, there is a part for when you're using drive-by-wire, and I didn't have it because they wanted me to use drive-by cable. So if you come in, it works. It starts. Our goal of installing a terminator and getting it running in a weekend was successful. But you can kind of look in, even with the silicone, that red, not on my finger, but on the intake, that's the O-ring pushing out. And we tried several different sizes, and it doesn't fit because of the design of the throttle bodies. There is a plate to fix it, and we don't have it because of me. So when a manufacturer suggests something, they might be right, you don't know better. But I still had a ton of fun. A ton of people came out. I got to hang out with Robert for the weekend. And
Nice. I mean, let's be fair. You're being a lot hard on yourself. These projects never go as planned, and you were working in front of a live studio audience, as it were.
yeah, which was a blast. I have a hole to fix in the firewall now. But here, wait, you probably want to hear it run. So it's going to idle very high because air is leaking in. But that's what's amazing about the Terminator. Even with the massive air leak, it handles it and keeps the truck running. So turn my key on. Make sure it's in park so we don't run anyone over. Blup, 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 blup. Come on. There we go. So it idles high, but it works. But yeah, listen to a manufacturer if they suggest you use a particular part.
So what this boils down to is you didn't read the instructions fully.
I did. When I got here.
When you got here.
So,
That's a little bit too late, you know?
huh?
That's a little bit too late.
It works perfect. So again, don't be afraid to try to jump in and wrench on your car. Here in front of a crowd with a lot of people coming by, we were excited to get to meet a lot of you fans. Someone made the trip out just to see Robert from Aging Wheels. So if you've not seen Aging Wheels, swing by there, check it out. He does a lot of really cool, fun things. Or if you prefer someone to handle wood, stop by Underdone. He does a lot of wood handling there. But that's it. We came, we got 80% of the way there. Fuel system swap, new intake manifold, complete computer change. We won.
And the fuel cell. Did you say that?
Yeah, fuel system. Fuel system,
Yeah.
all encompassing. So
I spent a lot of time under the car. It was
I
great.
got Robert to do the dirty work, which was awesome. Awesome. So thank you to eBay Motors and Holly for having us out here at Holly LS Fest. We'll be back actually next week for Mo Party. And we're not doing any wrenching. We're just coming to have a fun time.
And
So
thanks to Jared for inviting me out here. I had a blast this weekend.
you want to be on camera?
No, I can stay behind the camera.
Okay, sounds good.
You want to see this? No.
Just blur that out. That was terrifying, Dwayne. I'm sorry. But yeah, we're going to wrap up because everyone's loading up and we need to load up because I got to get home and I've got 3 days to turn around and come right back out here. So as always, I'm Jared reminding you guys to always make questionable choices. And Robert,
Wrench every day.
that's kind of boring.
Okay. Let me think of something while you're speaking.
You're not supposed to. No, that was the outro. That's the end of the video.
Oh.
The whole point is you're on the spot and you have to just, first thing that comes to mind.
The first thing that came to mind was raunch every day, so I'm not going to say that.
Well, that's what you just said. All right, Dwayne, thanks.